I think there's room in the marketplace for DSOs. There's room for group practices. There's room for private practice, and certainly room for public health. I think there's an opportunity for dentists to continue to feel very bullish, as it were, on dentistry for years to come.
Welcome to Investment Grade Practices Podcast, where we believe private practice dentists deserve to get the lifestyle today while building an asset for tomorrow. Join your host, Victoria Peterson, to design the practice of your dreams and secure your financial independence. Let's get started.
Welcome to Investment Grade Practices, and today I am so blessed to be here with Dr. David Porritt. David has had a rich history in dentistry. He and I go back at least 20 years. And David, I'm going to let you share with our audience members a couple of highlights from your career so that I can paint the picture why I love having you in this topic of investment grade practice.
Well, thank you, Victoria. It's an absolute honor to be here. But I'll tell you that my career got started as a lowly retail representative for a dental supply company. And I say that with honor as well, because that introduced me to the practice environment of dentistry. But very quickly, I got pulled into the vortex of clinical continuing education under the influence of John Coys and Frank Spear. I had the good fortune to meet them early in my career and early in their iteration of being key opinion leaders and leaders in continuing education. Well, that evolved into obviously a long, rich career in continuing education with Summit Dental Study Group, National Dental Network. But I then had the good fortune in 2004 to meet both you and Dr. Bruce Baird. And that too changed the arc of my career to be more focused on the business side of dentistry. And that really gave me a new perspective on what we could do to serve the dental professionals, culminating with a study that I completed in 2021 as part of my doctoral dissertation in order to be able to help doctors understand the environment in which they're operating today with DSOs prevalent in the marketplace.
I have to say, David, I think you are a group of one, a cohort of one who has actually completed a doctoral dissertation on the impact of DSOs in dentistry and career satisfaction. I don't know of anyone else who has studied it at the level that you have.
It's been an honor, again, to actually be a part of this. And I was influenced by Dr. Marko Vujicic, who is the chief economist with the American Dental Association. But there are very few studies that actually focus on that emphasis within dentistry. And if I may, I'm going to do a quick little pitch. My study, the title of it is Factors That Influence a Dentist's Decision to Affiliate with a Dental Service Organization and Their Corresponding Job satisfaction. I think we'd all agree that job satisfaction should be a key component of consideration in all of our career decisions.
I love it. So in the time that we have today, I want to talk about where do you see your research revealed a lot about how the industry is consolidating, how long it might take that to happen. We have a lot of clients at PDA because they're so productive and we've optimized their revenues. They are getting offers daily. It used to be our doctors were getting the attention of advertising companies, right? The marketing and the yellow pages and the SEOs and everybody that was knocking on the door. They still get that. Today, they also have a lot of buyers wanting to buy them out. And when I ask you what the title of this episode should be, you have to tell our audience what you said.
Don't fear the DSO.
Okay, let's talk about that.
There's good reason not to fear the DSO. First and foremost, you have to understand that in every market that is fragmented, consolidation is a natural occurrence. And that's what we're seeing in dentistry today. What I would also tell our audience is that while it may seem as though DSOs are taking over the market and they're everywhere, and if I don't act quickly or take an offer from a DSO, I'm going to be left out in the cold. Nothing could be further from the truth. And I also want to go on record as saying, I have nothing against DSOs. I think they're, again, a natural occurring incident in a fragmented market. That's what we're seeing. And there's good DSOs, there's less good DSOs, but don't fear them. And they represent less than 25% of the overall marketplace today. If you follow consolidation curve theory, they are not going to be at the tipping point where they're in a majority of this marketplace for years. And I mean years to come. In the meantime, there's great opportunity for private practices to position themselves for a transition at some point in the near future to where they can optimize their return on the investment in their practice.
Oh, I love that. So when you say years, I have a lot of clients that are in their mid 40s, mid 50s. They still feel like they have 15 or 20 years left in their clinical career. So what does that put us at? 2035, let's say. Where will we be then?
Well, according to the ADA's own studies in the Health Policy Institute, they're saying that it'll still be less than 50% of the market consolidated by 2035. And that's if we significantly exceed their predictions. So we all seem to think that DSOs are picking up speed as we go along, but there's some reasons for why we perceive that. And they're very good at marketing, and they're very good at telling us what they want us to think about this marketplace.
Oh, I love that. So you're very pro private practitioner. There's still a lot of room for private practice.
Absolutely pro private practice, pro dentistry. I think there's room in the marketplace for DSOs. There's room for group practices. There's room for private practice, and certainly room for public health. I think there's an opportunity for dentists to continue to feel very bullish, as it were, on dentistry for years to come.
I'm so glad you included private health and private healthcare in there too, because, my heart is for people on every economic spectrum. And I think that the men and women who work in public health and community service are serving the most vulnerable in our population. And my hat is off to them because their hearts are big. And so, building an investment grade practice doesn't mean that you are the biggest. It doesn't mean that you're the flashiest. It doesn't mean, any of that. It means, do you have a well-run practice within the schematic, if you will, of the people that you're serving? So if I'm high-end aesthetic practice, I'm probably not going to have, Naugahyde furniture in my reception area, right? Everything's going to be premier, and it's going to look like that, feel like that. It'll be very congruent. If I'm serving working class America, the furniture is going to match that. So investment grade is about congruency throughout and living your core values. And I know that's something that you and I really have in common. And your study revealed a lot about career satisfaction and what young doctors are looking for versus older doctors. Can you tell us a little bit about career satisfaction?
Well, I love how you used values as the foundation, because market segmentation means that there's a high end and there's a low end, and low end doesn't imply anything less than. It just means that it's a lower economic component of the marketplace. What I love about the values discussion is that for job satisfaction, for career satisfaction, individuals need to be able to find an environment that aligns with those values. And out of my study, the clearest indicator of job satisfaction for anybody, and it didn't matter what segment you were serving, it was that those values of the organization or the environment in which you operate align with your personal values. One of the greater challenges that I think the doctors have if they're considering transition, and let's just use the DSO environment as an example, how do you then align your values with the values of an organization like a DSO? What metrics do you use to measure that? And how are you going to remain satisfied or happy in your career choice when you've made that transition? What I have been given validation on this on economic terms as well from those that are in the broker side of the business, saying that the highest offer or the largest bid for a practice oftentimes won't win out in the end because the values aren't in alignment with the doctor. So going back to what you were saying earlier, I agree. I have a big heart for those that serve the public in that sector. And I also like to reflect on my friends in the practice world to whom much has been given, much is expected, and they can give back so much more, and they often do. And I think that's one of the benefits of having a thriving private practice is it gives you the ability to do more for your community.
I love that. Maybe that's one of the keys to optimizing it is that you have that philanthropic piece built in. I know Bruce always said that. He said, I became productive. And then if I choose to do a case for free, then I know I'm consciously doing it. It's when you aren't doing good financial options and the patient's getting the work done and then they don't pay you, So when you're here for free accidentally, that's a lot different than consciously doing it. Oh man, this is incredible. So you and I were just at the productivity workshop. We hosted a breakout session for doctors on building an investment grade practice. And for all you listeners, this is incredible. We now have a tool, and I'll have Kashmir put the link with this episode, where you can go on and determine a couple of things. And the tool you helped us build, David, is incredible. First, it helps you know, what is my financial freedom number? What will it take to fuel my lifestyle for the next 30 years? And listeners, I'll tell you, I chose 30 years because Ryan Isaacs at Dentist Advisors told me to, and he's really smart. He and Reese are very smart. So there will be a table there. You can, from your annual spending, you can quickly calculate what will I need in order to hang up the handpiece and survive for 30 years. So we took that piece, and then we put in a pace for collections of your practice and net profits of your practice. And it calculated a few things. So talk to me about this, David, because you can go in this calculator and say, how long will it take for me to hit my financial freedom number? And then there are 3 options that we baked in here. Can you talk about those 3 options of ways of looking at your practice?
Well, that's the key, isn't it, Victoria? It's having options, and it's knowing what are the results of those options. It's all cause and effect. What are the consequences of my decisions if I choose to continue to operate business as usual and take this to the finish line? We painted these scenarios in a 5-year window, but it's easy to expand upon that. We can go much further than that. But business as usual will typically get you there within a time frame that may not match with your desire to retire from the practice. So it's good to know, am I on target? Am I trending? Am I on track to accomplish what I want? And if not, it's an opportunity then to adjust. Another scenario may, I'm sorry to
interrupt. What does business as usual mean? What was the message you put in there?
Business as usual, if you look at the average dental practice, growth is about 5% per year. So if you continue on the path you are with the profitability that you're generating from that practice, and this isn't a judgment as to whether or not you're profitable or not that profitable, it's a matter of using the very same metrics that we would apply to the other scenarios. How long will it take you to get to that freedom number? If we consider selling to a DSO, you've got an offer on the table, they're offering you a lot of money, sounds like a great deal. There's some additional perks that come along with that. Will that get me to where I want to go? We can paint that scenario as well and help you understand, based on what your numbers are and what that offer represents, how long will it take you to get to your financial freedom number under that scenario? And then the third scenario is, let's look at your practice as though it could be or should be optimized. How do we get the optimized EBITDA, the net profitability out of your practice? And then under that scenario, how long will it take you to get to your financial freedom number then? What you'll typically find is most practices are not optimized for a transition. They're certainly not optimized for a transaction when they come to the market. But if you do so, you'll see that it's typically anywhere between half the number of years to even a third of the number of years that it would take you to do it the other way.
Wow. So again, listeners, I wish you could be here with us. We should host a webinar on this, David, coming up soon, but use the link below. You really only need 2 or 3 pieces of information in it, and you can start to predict how long it will take for you to hit your financial freedom. And I'll tell you, David, for all the doctors I've coached for the last 20 years, once they know that number and there's an end game, it I instantly see doctors get energized. It's like, oh, I'm almost there. It feels like the hustle and the grind somehow seems worth it, or that there's light at the end of the rainbow. I don't really know how to explain the emotion that we were seeing, but doctors were truly seemed empowered when we previewed this week.
Well, that's a great word, empowered, because that's exactly what our objective here is. It's not to make you feel bad that you haven't accomplished it yet, or that maybe your pathway isn't getting you there as fast as you would hope it would. It's never too late. But in this instance, what we believe is having all of the information will make you a more informed individual to decide what is the right pathway for me.
Yeah, I love that. Given that consolidation is going to take a long time, it's never too late. Like you've got lots of time to make the decision about someone, but it may be too early. We have doctors in their 30s, 35, 40 years, and come work for me. I think there's going to be we're going to bring a lot more depth to the marketplace and asking the deeper questions like, okay, so now you got the money and now you're not making the choices in your practice. How does that fit with your vision and helping people really, understand and making great conscious choices? Do you think that there are young doctors that are still entrepreneurial that want to come in and buy practices?
I see it all the time. In fact, what's interesting to me is I'm seeing some of the most entrepreneurial individuals in that 35 and under segment coming into dentistry, and it's so encouraging. A small group that we met over the workshop in this last weekend, that's what I know is there's a demographic in the dental profession today that is hungry for the information that they need in order to be successful entrepreneurs, private practice owners, small group owners, and they're not attracted to the solution of somebody just come make all my decisions for me. That's why I was saying with consolidation curve theory, it will show you that in every consolidating market, there's always a bandwidth at the top of that market for those who want to remain independent. And we'll see the same thing in dentistry.
I love it. Well, there you have it. Don't fear the DSO. Don't be afraid that there won't be young buyers to come and take over when you're ready. Optimize your practice. And we have so many clients right now that they're planning their succession, 15, 20 years in advance. They're bringing in the second doctor, the third doctor. And I see that as a thriving model. I don't hear about that a lot in the marketplace. As you said, there's a lot of media noise on the other end. But I really appreciate you bringing perspective from your decades of experience in the industry, as well as your doctoral thesis. So congratulations, David. You're bringing so much light into this topic.
Thank you, Victoria. It's exciting to be in this time in dentistry. What is it? Our friend Bruce says, it's the platinum age. I truly believe that.
I love it.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Investment Grade Practices Podcast. If you find value in this episode, help us spread the word by passing it along to a dental friend, subscribe, and give us a like on iTunes or Spotify. Learn more about building your investment grade practice at productivedentist.com today.